we got 2 trailers due tomorrow and also a demo. So there's a lot going on currently. No, I will not be using my camera today because I'm still sick.
All right.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Going around.
At this point, I'm wondering if it's some kind of allergies situation.
Oh, interesting.
Which is like something that's new to me. It's like kind of made its first appearance last year. So I'm not sure when to know what the difference is.
Oh, get some antihistamines.
Oh, yeah. I took Allegra about 30 minutes ago.
Nice. Hopefully it makes you happy, as the name implies.
Get busy, Harrier. Dragonland is screaming. This is issue 340 of the Insert Credit Audio magazine, where my associate editor is a horrible buzzer. I'm Alex Jaffe, and my most embarrassing video game achievement is being the first person in the world to unlock Darkseid in DC's Match 3 gacha mobile game. Shameful.
Wow.
My name is Frank Cifaldi, and I think you know better than to try to get us to express disappointment on a show where Tim Rogers is on. So I don't think this is going to go well for you.
Oh, let's hear it.
Let's hear what?
Let's hear as good as you can do here. Let's hear your best shot.
Well, but then also on the flip side of that, what do I got to be embarrassed by in terms of accomplishments here, man? What was yours again? Repeat yours.
I was the first person to unlock a character in a Match 3 gacha game.
Why is that embarrassing to you?
That I play it.
That's all right.
Would it be less embarrassing if it? No, you know what? I'm not going to say it. Who cares?
Not only that I play it, but that I am apparently more aggressive in playing it than anyone else.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds good. I was going to flip some letters around and invent the genre of a matcha game, which is a game about a specific variety of Japanese green tea. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, that's stupid.
I would have been fine with it.
Oh, I know. That's why I stopped.
I figured.
That's why I stepped on the hose, as it were.
You know, I kind of sort of made fun of Tim there, but then like I got nothing, man. Like I don't know how to be embarrassed by a video game accomplishment. So you were embarrassed by playing a Match 3.
Yeah, I was embarrassed by the realization
by like genuinely enjoying it enough.
It's more like this was a character that you needed to like complete a full month of like daily mission goals in order to unlock. And the fact that I had done that every single day without missing a day just kind of made me stop and think about what I'm doing with my video game time.
And the fact that you were the first person to do it just made you kind of feel like you were kind of like the only person in a movie theater or the only person in a restaurant or right, you know, something like that.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, okay. That does make sense.
I don't mind eating alone in a restaurant, but being the only person in a restaurant at prime dining hours is a little weird.
It's a
little bit like getting into an empty subway car.
Well, usually like the staff just kind of hangs out with you if you do that, at least in my experience, and I kind of like that.
Oh, I don't want that.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to have to hang out with anybody if I'm eating.
Well, it's not so much the hanging out; they let their guard down. You know what I mean? They're like, "We're all friends."
Oh, that's when you can strike.
Sure.
Yeah. They usually give you free Diet Cokes or whatever.
Yeah, more breadsticks, sir.
I'm not embarrassed by this, but the only equivalent I can think of is, I think I said this already, I'm Frank Cifaldi. There was this very early iOS game that was just a single one-button press, as in, like, press the screen, to essentially web sling. And it became extremely popular while I was at Comic-Con. And I was the top of the leaderboard after an update for about 20 minutes. I don't know why I'd be embarrassed about that, but perhaps I should be, because it was just a nothing little game that I only played because it kind of looked like Spider-Man.
That's how they get you.
Yeah.
I'm Tim Rogers, and everybody knows this probably. Anybody who's been paying attention knows the most embarrassed I've ever been by a video game accomplishment is I 100%ed Banjo-Kazooie in like a weekend, and it was like the worst weekend of my life. Both because that game blows in ways unrecognizable to persons who do not have my exact experience playing it in the exact environment I played it. And I mean, what a thing to have done at that exact time. I was 19 years old. It was summer. What did I do a thing like that for? I had a car, I had a CD player plugged into my cassette deck in the car.
Were you depressed?
What do you mean depressed? It was Banjo-Kazooie. It was a new game in the style of Super Mario 64 made by the makers of Donkey Kong Country. I was like
Banjo-Kazooie. Oh, were you depressed?
I was like, I got to play this. And then you look back and then it was almost, I mean, I've written about this. I wrote a thing on Kotaku.com about my experience with the Nintendo 64 that chronicles all of the hit games of the Nintendo 64 and my experience playing them between Super Mario 64 and Zelda Ocarina of Time, right? And Banjo-Kazooie is like the climax of the story because it came out in June of 1998, a few months before Ocarina of Time came out in November of 1998. And while I was playing Banjo-Kazooie, I quite accidentally became an adult. Just in my mind just kind of on the snap of some fingers. I can actually, I don't want to spoil any plot points, but a specific moment in the story where it's like, I'm going to just be an adult now, I guess.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, now I have to finish this game because I'm on track to 100% it, 104% it, whatever the stupid number is that Rare kept incrementing every time they made a game that had too many things to pick up in it. I just accidentally became an adult, and in hindsight, it stings even more because it's like, well, I had a car. It was summertime. I was 19 years old. I had a cassette player with the CD player plugged into it, Yeah. It's that sort of thing.
I'm Brandon Sheffield. Probably the most embarrassing thing, I think this qualifies as embarrassing, is there's a game called Pyongyang Racer, which is made in and promoting visitation to North Korea.
No.
I was interested in the development of it because it was by like French expats who moved there. And anyway, in the researching of this game, I decided to become number one at it. And so I was, and in order to do so, you had to take a photo of it. I'm pretty sure I've shared this on the podcast before, but you had to take a screenshot of your score and send it in. And so I was at the top of the leaderboard. And then a couple scores eclipsed mine, one of which was reasonable, but the other of which I was like, this person is definitely cheating because this score is unachievable. So I mailed them and they removed it.
Okay, that last part is the embarrassing part.
Yeah.
Because like before that was fine.
Yeah. The speak to the manager part. All right. I've got a question for you guys. Specifically, I have a question for Brandon. Brandon, I want you to look at something for me. I'm dropping in the chat right here.
All right.
This is the February 2011 issue of Game Developer Magazine.
Uh-huh.
Can you defend what's going on in this cover?
Sure, I can. The cover here, the thing that everybody's talking about, or what Jaffe is alluding to, is the lack of readability.
Oh, I've got a little bit more than that to say.
Anybody who's listened to the bonus episode where we spent like 45 minutes making fun of this cover that we recorded after Brandon left last week, they've got a picture of it in their mind, even if they've never seen it.
Yeah. So first of all, I wasn't in charge of covers. I was not the art director of this magazine. Just to throw that out there.
I mean, usually, just for anyone listening who's confused about that statement Brandon just made, that is a job a person has.
Yes.
It is a job.
It is a job.
Was it a job someone had on this magazine?
And it was not my job. Yes, but they had about 3 to 4 days in the month with which to work on the magazine.
Oh yeah. That makes sense.
So there's one thing I'll say, but
so did they take 2.5 days off, or
so that's to lay out the entire magazine. They had to do.
So I do want to pause here for those who haven't heard the bonus episode that doesn't exist.
It will exist.
It probably will exist. It'll be a very, very awesome listen without visuals. But the reason that this was brought up is because we were talking about it vaguely in the chat after Brandon had left, and Brandon said, "I like the covers." So
I do actually.
It's not
kind of
just
like them.
so by saying they didn't have a lot of time, you're not addressing the fact that you like it. You're kind of doing the opposite.
we weren't discussing this specific cover at that time. We were
Okay,
discussing
got it.
we were discussing the general vibe of the covers from that era. But
Okay.
what I will say is, so part of what people are reacting to is like the year is prominent, but the month and other information is not. Game developer, the letters are all flipped upside down and weird and stuff. We were experimenting, and in the case of this one, because Minecraft had such like buildability, you could make whatever you wanted with it. They were experimenting with like flipping things around and making it look like it was modular or whatever.
Mhm.
Also, to the point of the month not being readable on the cover, that is something that didn't actually matter to the user particularly, because this periodical was not sold in stores anymore. It was only sent to you in the mail, and so you knew when you got it. But part of the thinking was also that it would be, and Frank pushed back against the timelessness aspect. But within a few months, it didn't really matter what month it was, because something that we observed was that people would share around issues of game developer within a studio, and people didn't refer to them by month. They referred to them by like the Minecraft cover or the Assassin's Creed cover or whatever stuff. So it wasn't as high of a priority. Now, the most difficult thing to defend is there's a strike through on all of the text
Yes.
that is describing
We
things.
noticed. I think we noticed this.
Well, yes, I'm describing it for the audience that cannot
I know.
see it, and I can't defend that one at all. But I actually kind of like I don't understand why it was done, but I kind of like that it looks like a poorly burned in, like if you had a brand and you were putting it into some wood, like a hot brand, iron brand, and then you like fell over while you were doing it. That's kind of what it looks like with the logo. I think it's kind of neat.
It's not. It's not neat at all. I mean,
What
no
I will
offense
say
to it.
is this magazine didn't look like any other video game magazine at the time, and it wasn't like any other video game magazine at the time because it was oriented toward game developers.
You're saying it's alternative.
Yeah, I mean, it does. This cover in particular does have kind of like a late '90s nu metal vibe, which is pretty ridiculous. But
okay, we have not named the subject matter of this cover.
I said it was Minecraft.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I think.
Maybe you did.
Yeah, I did because I was talking about
Imagine Minecraft if photographed with a camera that seeks to emulate dog eyeballs. You know, it's like
Right.
what it kind of looks like.
It's like the sepia cameras that, like at theme parks, when you get to put on the old timey costumes and they take a crappy picture of you. It's like someone used that on a screenshot of Minecraft.
Yeah, and then they also blew it out a bunch.
And then burned the photo.
Yeah.
So what is the purpose of making Minecraft look like that? That's my main problem here.
It's like it looks like it's burned into a plank of wood, I believe, is what it's trying to do. But then it's only committed to that particular theme and in two little spots, which is the logo and then the reprise of the Minecraft headline at the bottom. So you get those two. Whereas the rest of it just looks like a Photoshop filter applied to a Minecraft thing. It's sort of a blend mode kind of done to. It's printed on a piece of wood. So the cover's supposed to look like a piece of wood, is my imagination here.
I would say so. I think
what is the function of that?
Well, the reason
what is the cover trying to convey by having that aesthetic with Minecraft?
That Minecraft is a game that's more raw materials than game. I don't know.
It's about raw materials, and it's also about building blocks, and so that led them to wood craft is my assumption. But part of why I mentioned the low amount of time the art director had to do things is that sometimes I would get a cover and there would be a day left until we had to go to printers, and then it would be the cover. There was no time. We had a lot of that toward the end because we had 2.5 staff members plus the art director for a few hours, and they had to lay out the entire magazine. And I was flowing text and stuff as well, but there was a real time crunch on these. And so to me, if I saw something that looked striking, even if the thematic elements were suspect or not thought through or just barely there, it was like, well, it looks like something. That's fine. Let's go with it. The reason I defend it despite that is that it does look different from other game magazines. And when we were under that much of a time crunch, I think to me different was enough. If I had time to really, really think about a cover, which occasionally we did, then it looked a little different. Like I like the Deadly Premonition cover, for example, which is just...
Oh, I do as well.
Yes.
But we recognize that Deadly Premonition was like the transition period. That was like the between aesthetic issue. And I agree, that cover is great. That is a really good cover.
I think having as a guiding principle looking different from other video game magazines is an interesting way to put it, because I mean, you weren't in competition with other video game magazines. Why not just make covers that look good? Why not try to make covers that look good compared to, I don't know, other magazines?
I do think that some of them looked good, and definitely the art director was trying to do things that they thought looked good. So it's obviously subjective, but
that's one way of putting it.
Yeah.
Had the art director ever seen something cool? I'm sorry, I don't want to be mean to this person. I don't know, but like,
all right, maybe we should move on.
I've never seen something cool.
Here's my next question: why do bad mini games happen?
Because they feel like they got to put stuff in there. They feel like there's just game developers, game designers. It's you know what? Bad video games are pretty cool because otherwise you'll never know unless you make them, right? And then some of them are good and some of them aren't as good. And why not leave them all in there sometimes? As long as the bad mini game isn't incredibly hard to complete and required to progress, why not, right? I
think one reason that they can wind up getting in there is like you have an idea for a mini game, you implement it part of the way, and you're like, it's more or less working. And then because you have that mini game, you wind up involving it in other areas of the game because it's a thing that's basically finished. And so then it winds up taking on an enlarged importance and more importance than it probably should get because it's mostly there already. And then if you don't then go back and fix it up and give it the juice, then it winds up getting weird and wiggly and bad. But I agree with Tim that why not give it a shot? Try and put something in there. Maybe you can do a good job. Also, sometimes those bad minigames can be inspiration for good minigames that other people make later if they're experimental enough.
In the case of like a Yakuza game, they make minigames, and then once they've made it, it's just kind of there in their engine, in their tools, right? And they can just we'll work on it some more later, bring it back a little bit better in the next one, right? So.
Yeah,
bad mini games often happen because the publisher doesn't mind having more stuff to use later, right?
Yeah, there's that, and then I feel like a lot of times mini games are just kind of crammed in there because the work was done possibly by like junior staff members who didn't really contribute much else.
Oh yeah. That's definitely the case.
It's a way of just kind of getting it in. But I agree. I think a lot of times it is the equivalent of a back-of-the-box bullet point that there's more content in here. We're talking specifically about bad minigames making.
Yes.
Let me be clear. Yeah. It's just one of those things where it's like, I think sometimes it's just harder to take stuff out than leave it in as you're getting toward the finish line.
Yeah.
I think the reason bad minigames are in is also very similar to the reason good minigames get in there. It's just that the bad minigames aren't very good.
It's a lot of the times, it also it just diversifies the visual variety in a trailer as well, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like to see all these weird little things. It's impressive to see that in the Final Fantasy VII Remake Rebirth trailer things. where they've got a million billion little things going on and all in there. Like the squats mini game in Final Fantasy VII Remake. I think that's like an objectively bad mini game. It's not a good mini game, but it rules. It's hilarious. It serves a purpose in the story. It's not hard.
I think its purpose is to be bad, I would say.
Yeah, it's like it's supposed to be kind of a funny moment, and it's just in there. And they could have gone all out and made something super compelling and super mechanically interesting to do there. But why not just leave in this? It's Guitar Hero, but for doing squats. That's stupid, but it rules. Got some techno remix music going on. I love this stuff,
Yeah, I like when a game is, I'm blanking on the name of the game, but I mentioned it in our Game of the Year episode. But I like when a game is sort of audacious in its attempts to have a lot of things in it, when it's clearly a much smaller scope game, but they threw all these things in there just to kind of make it feel bigger. And when that works well, like in this particular game, which I again do not remember the name of right now. Something Night. It's the Korean game that has like Persona-ish elements and things that I mentioned in the show. But whatever.
Yeah, they got those.
They have a mini game where you're basically just going on supply runs, and you run into a specific area and look for a specific item, and there's very little to it, but the prompt is given to you by one of the other characters, so you got a little nice context for it, and you get a little story afterward, and it's just a little thing that breaks up general action and makes you feel like there's more world outside the train or the dungeons that you're in. And so I certainly understand the compulsion and the interest in trying to do those things to make your world feel bigger. Now, if you're making mini games that make your world feel smaller and weirder, then that's when you're off on the wrong foot. But if you're in something that kind of expands the universe a little bit, then go for it.
Frank, you just had a birthday. Happy birthday. We're all getting older. That's the nature of time.
Not me.
Which means this is when we start thinking about things we will probably never get the chance to do. What have you closed the door on in video games, both recreationally and professionally?
Oh, that's actually, I like this question, because I think as someone who often finds himself amongst crowds that collect either literally or figuratively libraries of classic video games, I think a lot of people don't understand that time is not infinite, and that there's not something. The description I've often said is that, like, I feel like a lot of people are saving up a backlog for when someday they're going to retire into just playing video games.
Yeah.
And I think that's true, and I think I even detected some relating to that statement in your laugh.
Yeah, it's certainly something that I have thought of and then discarded, and then thought of and then discarded, right? Because I know it's not going to occur. I mean,
another way I've often thought about it is like, but have nothing to do but play video games, and that's what these are for. I think I've thrown away any notion of, like, there's no game that I feel like I must understand. You know what I mean? Like there's no game that I haven't played yet that is on my bucket list, I guess. Yeah. I take things as they happen. I enjoy games, but I don't feel that there is like a canon that I must play before I die. I have accepted the fact that I will probably never play through, I don't know, Final Fantasy VI. Just never got to it. I don't know if there's any point.
That's a good one, though. Point. I mean, that's like actually kind of a good one, though.
Oh, I understand that it's a good game. Yeah, I understand it's a good game, but
I'm saying it would have been like much easier to just summarily agree with you if you'd picked to agree with this point if you'd picked a game that I personally hadn't played through like 20 times that I think is really good. It's but otherwise, aside from the choice of exemplary game, I agree with that general sentiment. There are games that I'm never going to play. You
Well, there's a
know,
lot of great games that I'll never play, and that's
Sure,
one
sure.
of them. And I don't believe that I need to play that game, and I've let go of thinking that I need to play anything I haven't played yet, unless it's like, I don't know, specifically for like market research or something, right? But in terms of like I just don't have a bucket list of video games.
I got a couple. I think that it's sort of related to Frank's thing. At one point, I sort of felt like someone should have this. I should but I'm not like a preservationist person, but sometimes I would see something and be like, somebody needs to have all of these just in case. And I feel like that's actually a relatively common sentiment among certain types of collectors, to be like, oh, got to make sure that we preserve this. But preserving it doesn't mean it's in my house, you know? So I've let go of seeing something and being like, this is rare. It means that I should have it. I'm not the arbiter of things. But a bigger one is, there was a time when I thought that I should or could get really good at certain fighting games. And I've kind of given up on that because I understand much more about what it means to actually be really good, and that I don't have that stuff in me. I don't have the dexterity or the reads or the ability to do frame perfect anything. So I'm content to be conversant in most fighting games rather than be excellent in any one of them. I don't know why I thought I should do that, but it felt like something that I was supposed to, a path that I should go on. But I gave that one up.
I mean, just in terms of like video game preservation, since you mentioned that, I think a lot of people in this space also don't understand that entropy is real and you work around it. You don't try to stop it. I think a lot of people try to build an infinite game library in case the game goes away someday. And I think it's okay to, I'm not going to say like give up and not try, but I think for me, I've let go of the idea for sure of like everything will be saved. Like if we just do enough work, everything can be saved. Like, no, we're just going to lose games, and that's just how it goes. And if that didn't happen, the preservation problem that I live with every day would be way less interesting. So that's a good way of thinking about it.
Yeah, that one's hard to accept. I think that they're not all going to be available. I think that's and despite what I said earlier, I did just buy a Satellaview ROM cart because it was cheap. And I was like, oh, there could be new stuff on there.
There might be something on
there.
There
might be something on there.
I've put a curse on all three of you that you have to wear the same video game t-shirt every day for a year, and a stranger must compliment you on that shirt every day or you will die.
Whoa.
You can design the shirt yourself if you like, but it must be identifiable as a video game t-shirt. What do you wear and where do you wear it?
Shoot.
Okay, it's Super Mario, and he has a speech bubble that says, please compliment this t-shirt or I will literally die. And then I just walk a mall every day.
You've created a lifestyle for us where we all have to go outside to see a bunch of people every day. So
that's part of it, yeah.
Strangers.
I feel like this is a bit dark perhaps, but I feel like at a certain point I'm going to stop wearing the shirt, if you know what I mean. I'm going to get tired.
Oh my God. You would literally rather die than do this.
I don't think that, probably not. I'd probably try, but I think it'd be rough at a certain
I just got to say, that's one of the most white privileged cop-outs answers to one of these questions you've ever given, Brandon.
Well, I wasn't answering the question.
I know. I'm just messing with you. But also, it's you got to wear this shirt. It's got to be a good shirt.
Yeah, so initially...
You don't have to go to a place with millions of people. Just go to Target or whatever and then, say hi to an old lady. I don't know. My
first reaction was the video game shirt that I have gotten the most compliments on, which is my Halo 3 beta shirt where
I remember that shirt.
Master Chief's getting shot out of a cannon. But seems like we should go more Frank's route and design something designed to be complimented. And if it's only a year, I wouldn't like this, but would it make sense to go the route of a contemporary meme that people actually thought was funny?
for an entire year.
An entire year. It might work if you kept going.
Do you know the lifespan of a meme? Brandon?
Just keep going to children's parties.
4 or 5 seconds. I'll tell you what, I see teens all the time wearing the meme t-shirts from Target that have like a sentence of like passive aggressive text on them. Like, I hope your phone falls in the toilet, or sorry, I'm late. I didn't want to be here. Right. Like just like written joylessly on the shirt, available for $5 at Target or whatever. I've always read that text and just kind of thought, that's so stupid. And I would never compliment those children. If I saw a kid wearing a shirt that said, please compliment my shirt or I will die, no matter how much of a Mario was on there, I would just go, whatever, stupid kids, and just keep walking.
Well, here's the solution for that. So all three of us live in at least near heavily populated areas where people can and do exhibit themselves, whether they're selling things or just creating art or whatever, out in public spaces. So my plan would be to, I don't know, have a little table in the Target parking lot or something and just show up as if it's a daily task every day and have a sign saying, please compliment my shirt or I will literally die. I might even resort to, I will give you $1 if you compliment the shirt as like a sign, but like I will just make it part of my daily routine. Show up in my video game shirt in a populated area until I receive one compliment, and then go to work or whatever my next destination is, and just try to front load it, because I don't want to be in a situation where it's like really late at night and I've forgotten and I'm sleepy. And it's like, honey, I gotta go to the BART station because that's the only place people are at this hour.
So does it have to be a different person every day? Is that's part of the rule, right?
Yes, that makes sense. To be a different person every day.
A stranger, yeah.
You can't know everybody.
To take this question a little more seriously, though it won't really sound like it, I believe that if I had a shirt that was like a slightly poorly drawn Sonic where he was smoking weed, I think that if
that's a slam dunk.
I think if I walked around Oakland every day, I would get one compliment on that shirt. I just walk around the lake, I will get one compliment on my Sonic smoking weed.
Does it say like Chronic the Smoke Hog on it?
It probably says Chronic the Smoke Hog, maybe on the back. Maybe I need to put Knuckles in there instead. I'm not really sure. But that might be. I think the wider brand recognition of Sonic.
Yeah, no, I think Sonic's the right call.
So I've got a couple things to say here that are taking the question as ultra seriously and boringly as possible. I think if you wanted to wear a shirt that was bound to get you a compliment, and I know this isn't the rules of the question, but if it just had to be key art from a game on a shirt, and it had to just be art from a game, like box art on a shirt, and you weren't allowed to bend any rules and you needed a compliment, I think you just get the box art from that stupid game Stray, because there's always bound to be some idiot who just sees a cat on a shirt
like cats
and says, I like it. And also, I would say, speaking as someone who receives kind of the most obnoxious amount of compliments on my articles of clothing that I wear outside, the shirt I'm wearing right now, we don't need to say what it is. I can't stop having somebody yell at me about this shirt every time I go outside. Every time a dude yells at me and is like, yeah. And I'm like, all right. And I would say that I would have to move to somewhere like California, because I would need to be able to wear the t-shirt every day, because my jackets are too cool. Because every time I wear my jacket, I get a guy asking me, where'd you get that jacket? What brand is that jacket? Where can I get that jacket? And I'm like, that's the ultimate compliment, obviously.
All right, Tim, you get extra points on that question for taking it super seriously. So you're in the lead as we go into our break.
I have an actual strategy. What are you talking about?
That's true.
Like, I am definitely going to survive.
You're going to survive, but at what cost?
Also, anybody who has watched any of my YouTube videos knows that I commissioned extremely talented illustrator Dan DeSalt to draw the box art for Boku no Natsuyasumi if it had been released in America in the year 2000, for which he designed a character and a logo, and or it's a very elaborate, strange illustration that we then put on a t-shirt. And every time I've worn mine to the supermarket, someone asks, what is that? So that's like a real life answer there. So I don't know if that means anything.
Weirdly, the shirt I've gotten the most compliments on, despite having shirts that I think are actually interesting, is there's a band called Pentagram, and I have one shirt that just has the band's logo, says Pentagram on it, and I tend to wear it when I'm like doing yard work or something, and then sometimes I forget and I keep wearing it when I go outside and do something. Consistently get a compliment for that pretty obscure, not really that good band for a shirt that just has their logo on it and nothing else. And that I haven't figured that one out yet. I haven't puzzled that one together. But I guess it's just like there's enough weirdos who specifically like that band that if they see that, they'll be like, nice. I also know that. I don't know. That's all I can figure.
Right. Let's take our break. The following ad supports the Insert Credit podcast, but is not necessarily endorsed by its individual members. This is the Insert Credit Quick Break. I'm Alex Jaffe, and this week's episode of Insert Credit is sponsored by Legendary Puns, a collection of puns, dad jokes, bad jokes, and wordplay. Wordplay fans rejoice! The ultimate book of puns is now available, new from Kelleher Brothers. Legendary Puns, a collection of puns, dad jokes, bad jokes, and wordplay, is the illustrated joke book you never knew you wanted, and certainly didn't ask for. The Kelleher Brothers, most commonly known for their music exploits and an obscure retro gaming blog, also make puns compulsively. For years, they've threatened to compile their best puns into one epic joke book for the ages, and they went ahead and did it. 3 Kelleher brothers and their father collaborated to create this definitive book of wordplay. At a tight 160 pages, Legendary Puns spans all categories of paranormasic humor from punfection to punishment, and includes something for everyone. Short jokes, lengthy jokes, clever jokes, awful jokes, farming jokes, bilingual jokes, and just plain silly jokes. There are even a few subtle video game references for eagle-eyed readers to find, something which Insert Credit listeners might appreciate. If that weren't enough, Legendary Puns is also illustrated. Choice jokes get the single-panel comic treatment, adding visual flair to the literary humor. If you've been holding off on buying a pun book because your standards are too high, this is truly the product for you. Legendary Puns makes for the perfect Father's Day gift. Buy a copy for dad. Buy a copy for mom too. Buy a copy for your in-laws if applicable. No bathroom is complete without a copy of Legendary Puns to class up the place. Alternatively, it could be a fun prank to inflict upon your enemies. The possibilities are endless. If there's one thing we can all agree on, it's that everyone loves puns. No one has ever found them to be in any way annoying, self-serving, or just plain obnoxious. So head on over to legendarypuns.com to order your copy today. That's legendarypuns.com, or simply search for Legendary Puns on Amazon. And give the gift of pun. Legendary Puns is the best wordplay you'll find anywhere, but you don't have to take my word for it. Welcome back to Insert Credit. It's time for us to take one of our Patreon questions. How do we get these questions? Well, as you might have guessed, we get them from patreon.com/insertcredit, where subscribers for mere dollars a month can submit questions to us, get monthly bonus episodes, and other fun surprises. This week's question comes from Chopemon, who asks, some game genres have had boom periods, like the fighting game boom in the 90s, or the FPS boom after Doom. What other boom periods are there, and which ones should there have been?
Well, there was the mascot platformer, certainly.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and that was all Sonic, right? I mean, like there were, cutesy guys on the NES jumping around, kind of Mario style for sure, but it was Sonic that I think ushered in like the movement, right? Like they were all animals now. They were all chubby little animals.
Mm-hmm. Awesome Possum, Bubsy.
Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
God, Awesome Possum blows, dude.
It's extremely bad.
It rules how bad it is.
Apparently, he kicks Dr. Machino's butt, but I'll never know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to get there.
Yeah. A big one during our careers was the Grand Theft Auto, the open world for no reason game.
I gotta say, having recently played almost all of them, that's a good genre.
Yeah.
That's a very entertaining genre of game that resulted in much hilarity in my house in the past couple of years. So that's
I think
fun.
it's kind of spiraled out of control at this point to where open world is not like a genre. It's just it's like a
format. It's a template. Yeah.
I would say it's not out of control. I think it's now in control.
Sure. Yeah.
Like you play something like Ghost of Tsushima. It's like too in control. And then you play something like Days Gone, and it's like, oh, there's more stuff to do with this. There's a lot more stuff to do with it. And then you play something like Elden Ring, and you're like, oh, it can be used as a spice and not the whole dish, you know?
Yeah.
So it is I would say yes, open world is in control now. Thank you.
There was a very small squad-based shooter thing that happened for a little while with the Rainbow Sixes and whatnot, but it didn't really, like, nothing past Rainbow Six ever really got there to the same extent, I feel. So that was maybe a not a failed one, but a less successful attempt is what I would.
Modern Warfare military shooters was a pretty big thing that I guess still kind of continues.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, enough so that, you know, you have games like Spec Ops, which are practically like, not, I wouldn't say parody, but, you know, are like they played with the genre. That's
playing with a genre that's only like 2 years old at that point. Yeah.
Right. I think one that a lot of people have forgotten about because you kind of can't play them anymore is that the success of World of Warcraft spawned a lot of MMOs.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like there were entire conferences in Austin for making MMOs. There was a print magazine called Beckett Massive Online Gamer that was just about different MMOs.
BMOG.
And I think, you know, quickly realized, oh, people don't bounce from MMO to MMO because they like the genre of MMO. Right. They just play an MMO and they don't convert to other things.
Which is basically the entire game industry at this point, where people just play Fortnite or just play FNAF, and that's all they do.
That is the lesson learned from MMOs, I guess, is you turn your game into the player's life. Right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, there was a ton of those. And I remember a lot of companies sprouting up and
Lord of the Rings online,
pooping one of them out, and then that was it.
Star Wars: The Old Republic.
They kind of had a better model in Korea for that because they were making heck of MMOs over there, but they would be like, this one's for Thailand. This one, I'm going to target Vietnam or whatever. So they were like trying to get a different regional country market first and then see if they could expand it out elsewhere, because they could like get a different audience that way.
There was a Shenmue MMO.
Shenmue,
as it was called. Yeah.
There was a there was supposed to be a Metal Slug. I think there was supposed to be a Metal Slug MMO. There was definitely an attempt at a King of Fighters MMO that didn't do, but that actually survived a little bit in China. These memories are very foggy to me, but there's something going on there.
Yeah. They were trying to MMOify a whole lot of stuff back because that's all people knew. Nobody had ever tried to arrange the letters of the alphabet with a GAAS yet and look at that and go, ooh, what might that be? Instead, they just had MMORPG. And they're like, do we need the RPG? You know, and then, you know, they start experimenting with that. It was easier to subtract some letters than make something out of whole new letters.
Here's a weird one that I'm having a little trouble putting a box around, but the Nintendo fast follow during the Wii era, where, you know, there would be a Wii Sports, and then Ubisoft would be like, we too have made a sports game that uses the nunchuck. There were a lot of
Ubisoft is really good at that.
Yeah. And then it would get down to like companies like Valcon or whatever, and it would get more budgety. But when Nintendo would do something on the Wii, there was a group of developers that would then do something kind of similar, cheaper, with a flashy cover to sell in Walmart. So that was a genre. It's not a genre. That was a type of thing that happened.
I mean, I think that you could just say that the Nintendo Wii was a shovelware boom, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
One more question.
Wait, what was the boom that was referenced in the question?
The boom referenced in the question was the fighting game boom and the FPS boom.
All right.
I was just going to say that PS1 RPGs circa and after Final Fantasy VII.
Oh,
was,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
The greatest boom in my opinion, dollar
that
for
was
dollar.
a big bad boom.
Dollar for dollar, the best boom in the games. Thank you.
All right. What is the getting to the bus stop at the exact same time as your bus of video game?
Interesting.
That's a good question. I know what the opposite is. In real life, for me, it is me going to the train station, because it is nearly guaranteed that no matter when the train was meant to arrive, it will have left just before my arrival. So we can dissect that one later. But the arriving at the bus stop just as the bus arrives. So a nice coincidence that you didn't expect that results in something positive for you, right?
Yeah.
That's one way to do it.
Or it's something that represents a removal of a preconceived inconvenience. Like you thought you were going to have to wait for a bus, and then you don't.
That's closer.
Or it's just extremely streamlined process, right? Like it's you played through the thing perfectly. Saved frames.
When a game doesn't have any kind of like a store, when they're letting you play, when you load up Forza Motorsport after just downloading it, and you choose to launch the game, and then there's an announcer who's like, "We're here at the racetrack. Oh, look at that McLaren," and you're just driving already. And it tells you they just start you out driving.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. And then, obviously you get through that. They put you into a 6-hour on-ramp where you learn how to save up money to buy a Honda or whatever, but they let you start.
I mean, that reminds me of, I'll do this one real quick. I think it was NBA 2K11.
2K12.
And was it 2K12, the Jordan cover one, where it's not something I'd like planned on playing, but it was on OnLive. And OnLive was that game streaming thing. And I think I had a press account and had free games. It was either that or they actually let you demo any game on the service for something like 30 minutes. And so my experience with that game was, I don't know, let's see what one of these is like now. And it just like, I pressed a button and it was immediately just on my screen. And like you press start and you're just in like the final game of the, I don't know, like the 1993 championships or something, like playing as Michael Jordan with the Bulls, and you're just there.
It was 2K11, by the way.
Okay.
I don't know why I said 2K12 because I was there, Jerry. I was there.
I mean, that just struck me. It's just like, whoa.
You're just immediately playing the basketball.
You're just immediately in the finals of like the three-peat era Chicago Bulls. And like, you're just about to win the game. You're in like the fourth quarter with minutes to go. And
I feel like half of that is the developers of the game recognizing that such a gesture owns. And then half of it is, we've got such a chewy wrapper on our game that it takes a long time to get into something. Why not suggest a thing for the player right away and just give it to them? But either way, it's a heck of a gesture, and it's very nice.
I think this one is maybe a little less compelling than yours, Frank, but the first thing that came to mind to me was X-Men 2 Clone Wars on the Genesis, where you start...
Oh, yeah.
You start right off playing as a random character.
As a random X-Man, yeah.
Yeah, you hit the game. You start the game and it just goes right into playing, which was...
Yeah, you just like, it feels like, I mean, I probably do this way more than anyone here or any listener, but it feels like sometimes you get a prototype of a video game and like there's just no title screen. You just turn the system on and it's like, you're in the first level. Here you are.
Yeah, it was a big surprise to us at the time, young people, to turn it on and it's like, whoa, it's moving and something's shooting at me already. Like, what?
And that's a sequel to the game that made you reset to advance a level, like hit the reset button. So it kind of fit with the original too, as poor of a choice as that was.
Yeah, they were
game's bonkers.
They were trying stuff. So I guess I liken that one more since you don't get to choose. And it's more of an interesting happenstance. It reminds me of when I would be like walking to the Los Angeles Convention Center from where I was staying to go to E3, and I'd be planning to walk, but then the bus would come by, and I'd be like, oh, well, the bus is only 50 cents. I'll get on the bus, and then I save myself 20 minutes. But I don't know that the bus is going to come. Yeah. I'm not planning for the bus to come.
Yeah. I think at the root of this question, at the heart of this question, is the fact that in a video game, such coincidences can be routinely and gregariously, magnanimously manufactured for the player's benefit. For example, I think the best example is one that maybe even inspired this question, which is in the game Earthbound, where you can use the bus to get from town to town as a sort of slightly faster than slow travel. You stop and read the bus stop sign, and the narrator says, "Oh, there's a lot of. Looks like this bus comes here a lot. When's the next one coming? Oh, there's the bus right now." And that's a very delightful thing about that particular game. And it even struck me as delightful the very first time I played the game as guy who lived in a town that didn't even have any buses. So,
all right. With that, I think it's time to go on to our lightning round. We started with a Minecraft cover, so I thought we should put some Minecraft content in here. So that's why we're going to GameFAQ&As. This is the game where I take some of the questions that you can find on the message boards that still exist for the moment at GameFAQs.com. And we take those questions, we strip them of context, and we answer them as pithily as possible. Okay. Let's get into it. Question number 1. Is copper useless?
No, you could sell it for a lot.
Yeah.
It's real good, yeah.
How do I unbake the cake?
Put it in the refrigerator.
You leave it out in the rain.
That's true.
Yeah.
I like
the problem is I don't have that recipe. How do I prevent griefings and robberies?
Oh, geez. That's a question we've been grappling with in America for quite some time. And the answer is not more cops.
We've been, not more cops.
So,
how do you survive more than 1 days in hardcore?
Yeah. Safe word. There's my joke.
There you go. Stupid profanity filter. How to bypass?
Oh wow.
Curse.
Just write duck, and everyone will think it was autocorrected.
Mm-hmm.
How do you make a mutant wither?
This sounds like I don't know what the punchline is, but it sounds like there's supposed to be one.
Yeah, take away its credit card.
There's some kind of X-Men joke here too. Something with a sentinel. I don't know.
Yeah, something with a sentinel is right.
Something with a sentinel. Why do my villagers keep quitting their professions and taking other jobs?
No one wants to work these days.
You're a bad manager.
Because of woke. Oh,
yeah, because of woke.
Will worlds be destroyed?
Ask Dr. Manhattan.
How do you build a modern house?
You hire a modern architect.
Yeah.
It's a good answer. Finally, what is the healthiest way to go back home?
Walk.
Yeah, that sounds right.
But if the bus arrives, you could take the bus.
And sit on your butt? That's not healthy.
Well, I'm tabulating the scores here, and Brandon, you're the winner of this episode. Congratulations.
You did it.
Does anyone have any quick recommendations for us? Let's say 200 words or less. Let's try to keep it that length.
Yeah. I got one. People keep asking me, since I mentioned washing records as a relaxing thing on the show, they asked me what I use for that. I just use the Spin Clean, which is a device that you thonk your record into and then you spin it around in the water. It's got some brushes. It's nice. And I recommend some little wire folder racks to dry your records on while they are while they're drying off. That's my quick recommendation for this week.
It's a good one.
We talked about Animal Well a little bit last week because it's real big. And yeah, I suppose I recommend playing it, but specifically, I recommend if you want to see all of the stuff, my personal take is that once you've, how do I not spoil it? Once you've done the second thing, just YouTube the rest.
Okay.
I'll do another quick recommendation, which is Crow Country is fun. That's a fun game. I like it. I think you should check it out if you like the Resident Evils, and I think it will be very, very funny. I assume there are people calling that game low poly. I gotta look into it, but it feels like a troublesome brewing that has been brewing for some time.
Yeah, people call stuff all the time these days.
They do it.
You know, it is what it is.
But Crow Country's good. Give it a shot.
Yeah, it's neat.
Okay. Tim, do you have any quick recommendations this week?
Not really, no.
That's fine. I got some. Here are my recommendations. I would like to recommend, first of all, I have a podcast called 52 Pickup, where Gita Jackson and I go through the 2006 comic book series 52 in excruciating detail, just using it as a cipher to explore the comic book culture and its fandom, and talk to some of the most interesting people in comics about this. So if you're interested in hearing something that I know things about, unlike video games, you can check that out. It's on the Aftermath Network. I would also like to recommend, if you enjoyed this or any episode of Insert Credit, please rate and review our show however you can. You can support us on patreon.com/insertcredit to pay our salaries, except Tim. If you'd like to sponsor our show with an advertisement or personal message, it's easy and affordable to do that. You can contact us at show@insertcredit.com and I'll be in touch within a day. You can also join our community at forums.insertcredit.com or find us on youtube.com/insertcreditshow. Hey, it was just Frank's birthday, so why not send a charitable donation to the Video Game History Foundation in his honor? That would be
Or you can buy our new
gift.
shirt. You see our new shirt?
Or you can buy a new shirt. You can get compliments on it.
Possibly. Yeah, it's a pretty cool design. Has a skull has a skull on it. Pixel skull.
Nice.
Says "Thou art dead" on it. It's pretty cool.
This episode is edited by Esper Quinn with original music by Kurt Feldman. I'm Alex Jaffe.
I'm Frank Cifaldi.
I'm Tim Rogers.
I'm Brandon Sheffield.
And Thou Art Dead.
Very good.
Art
Yeah.
thou dead? Stop into a Slim Jim.
I like our shirt. It was real easy. I asked the guy who owns the art, "Can I just sell this?" And he said, "Yeah."
Nice.